Hello, and what is going on today, guys? Tomcat here, and today we're in Forza Motorsport 6 at the Nürburgring, drifting a golden limo on a full lap of the Nordschleife. Now, first of all, very difficult challenge to do, very difficult car to do it with, because of the fact that the wheelbase is so long and the steering angle doesn't really equal out to what it would need to be to drift a car of this length. It makes this a very difficult thing to do, but nonetheless, we ended up actually putting in a full lap, and there were a couple of spots where we went off a little bit. The passenger side rear tail light, we knocked out with a bit of a wall tap, which, I mean, you know, things like that can happen, and also here we lost a little bit of speed, but I wanted to make this as much of a full run as I could, and also, this car, it's just not an intuitive drifting platform. It's a limousine. It's useful for transporting VIPs, but not for drifting sideways around the Nürburgring at 100 and something miles an hour. So, with that being said, it was actually really fun. With that being said, it was really fun. It was tricky. It was challenging, but definitely once you kind of got it down, it wasn't bad at all. So, well, actually, you know what? I take that back. It took a lot of practice and trying. That's where we knocked that taillight out, and it's just like one of those things where this is the first in some different videos that I'm going to do where we look at what you could really do in Forza Motorsport 6 as a whole, because Forza Motorsport 7 is now on the horizon. Jokes, go home. Anyway, Forza 7 is right around the corner, and this is where we'll start to bid our farewells to Forza Motorsport 6, and I enjoyed Forza Motorsport 6 thoroughly. It was a really, really, really good game, and still remains to be a really, really good game. Forza 7, I think, is on a totally different level, but that's, of course, what you're going to get from a new installment in the Forza series, especially, you know, the Motorsport games, well, and the Horizon games, too. They change a lot every time, but every time a new Motorsport game comes, it's a big deal, you know? It is a big deal, and it's something that everybody is going to be looking at, everybody's going to be checking it out, and everybody in the Forza community is definitely going to have their own opinions, I'm sure, about the game, but I think the response to Forza 7 is overall going to be very positive. Now, put it this way, I want to be able to do fun things just like this in Forza 7, you know? Because in the Motorsport games, sure, you've got your hardcore stuff. I mean, I personally like to do some casual leaderboard time attack kind of on the side with, like, specific makes and models. And I think I had for example, I had an A-Class GT86, either number 3 or number 2 in the world on the Nürburgring and A-Class leaderboards for a little while. It was in the top 5, I know that for sure. But it's just things like that, you know, and I know I don't really do a lot of time attack stuff on my channel, but it's fun to do. There's also people that, of course, drift, and there's of course your, you know, your standard hardcore related dynamics and aspects of the game. But there's also fun, wonky, crazy stuff like this, and I think that has a big place here in Forza, especially considering the fact that there's not like, I don't know, even though there aren't a million different types of like mini games and stuff like that, people make up their own. I mean, you're not technically supposed to drift a golden limo around the Nürburgring, but you can, you totally can, and really I feel like they encourage it at this point because it's just so much fun. It's so much fun to do, and it's so much fun to take these cars out and do things with them that you really aren't supposed to do, and that they were never intended for, but it ends up being a ton of extra fun just because you would never see these things. You know, you would never see this happening unless you met a lunatic, which in that case, you met yourself a pretty legit lunatic. So, keeping that all in mind, the main things, too, thinking about Forza 7, and, you know, I find myself being excited for not just the career mode, not just the racing, not just the multiplayer, but exploring all of the silly stuff, exploring all of the weird, random, silly, crazy things you can do within a Forza game that, like I said, a lot of people don't really see until they dig down deep into the layers of the game itself, which, to be fair, Forza games, especially the motorsport ones, are actually a lot deeper than certain people think. We also slightly tapped the wall on the outside right there, and I think we cracked that other taillight. I think. But, yeah, I believe we did. But anyway, there's a lot more, like, below that surface layer of Forza, especially Forza Motorsport games, that a lot of people don't really see. And first of all, you guys will see a lot of that from Forza 7 on my channel, for sure, because we're going to be digging into every little tiny aspect of that game that we can. But also, it's just the fun challenges, you know? It's the fun challenges that pop up in your mind and you go, oh, hey, that would be fun. That would be cool. That would be interesting. That'd be different. That'd be fun. You know, I mean, who doesn't want to get, you know, 10 limos together and go race them at the Nürburgring? Who doesn't want to do that? I know for a fact I want to do it. So we also slightly tapped the wall, but we managed to carry it on. So I was like, you know what? I'm cool with that. I'm totally okay with that. We'll call it a wall tap, and we'll move on. That is one thing I do want to see, though, in Forza 7 is wall taps like we have in Horizon 3 added to the drift scoring. I think that's an important thing for, or at least it can be an important thing for upping your drift scores if you want to get more combos. If you're a points drifter, if you're not a points drifter, it doesn't really matter to you. But for people that points drift, any opportunity to get extra points is like is better for them, you know, and they always are going to want opportunities for extra points. Now to be fair, if you hit the wall too hard, then you're going to lose your entire combo and you're not going to get anything. So you have to kind of calculate your risk when you're going for things like wall tap bonuses, you know, especially in Horizon. But if you get good at it, you're fine and you can rack up huge scores. And would that work in a motorsport game? I'm not totally sure, honestly. I would have to think about it. I would have to see how it would work, because there's a lot of tracks where you have grass in between the track and the wall. I feel like it would only really work on tracks that have the wall basically right up to the tarmac, right up to the white line. And some tracks have that, some tracks don't. And it would depend, you know, you would have to have a system in place to see how far the car could go off the track to make a wall tap count before it would deduct all your points for leaving the track surface. Because in motorsport, if you leave the track too far, you lose all your drift points. But if the wall's over there and you're trying to go for a wall tap, maybe if there's a ton of grass in the way, you probably shouldn't go for that one. So I think individual walls, like it wouldn't really apply to every single wall on every single track. It would really just need to apply to certain walls that were close enough to the track to make a difference. And if they were and they did, then it would work fine. So I think that's my opinion on whether or not drift tap scoring should be there in the game. And I think it's a mechanic that a lot of people use to boost their scores. It's a mechanic that some people abuse, you know, but at the same time there were some glitches around it that they patched in Horizon 3. So if people do figure out a way to exploit something like that, I'm sure they'll patch it eventually. So it's not like it's going to be, you know, this big exploit that people are just going to use forever. So, you know, it's just one of those things where you try to introduce a new dynamic into the game, and sometimes there's going to be things that people can, you know, pick at and you know, get a little bit of an advantage out of. Now, the funny thing about drifting this car is that you can pretty much go half the car off the track into the grass and it doesn't take away your points because the car is so long. And that's the really only redeeming factor to having a wheelbase this long. All the other factors associated with having a wheelbase this long are not good. And also considering the fact that the steering angle in this car is kind of terrible for drifting. So it's one of those things where it is not an easy car by any means, but at the same time it's a really fun car, and you learn how to drive it over time. You're like, you gotta practice and practice and practice, and then eventually you get the feel of it. But the thing is, it's actually very, 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 very snappy, and if you don't quite get familiar with how to use that, it's going to snap on you and it's not going to be fun. this corner coming in, we came in at speed and just went all the way through, and then on the transition, swung a little bit too far to the side. Didn't hit the wall, but went about 3/4 in the grass. So, I mean, it was one of those corners where I was like, really? But, as we're coming through here, just chaining a couple of corners together, coming to the inside. The screen darkened right here, but trust me, it comes back up in just a second. The Xbox One actually tried to go to sleep on me. So, kind of weird, kind of unexpected, but backed it into the just kind of wanted to stop. I didn't really care what I hit at that point because the lap was over, so I backed it into the tire wall, did some celebratory donuts, and then proceeded to the finish line. So, if you guys enjoyed this video in Forza Motorsport 6, don't forget to leave me a like. Tell me in the comments below what you guys thought of it, and if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe for more. I do more videos similar to this and other games as well on my channel, so if you're interested in any of that, make sure you do subscribe for more. Forza 7 is also coming soon, later on when we see more about the game. So again, check back next time. I'll see you guys later.